It has been 2 weeks now since Sherry Papini was spotted along the side of the road. The wife and mother of two wearing restraints, bruised, branded reportedly. Now authorities are telling People magazine they still do not know why she was taken. They also admit they have few clues about the two Hispanic women Papini described, but they do have some concerns. I'm joined now from Los Angeles by People magazine crime writer Christine Pelisek. Christine, thanks for your time this morning. In your new article that hit stands today, you quote the Shasta County sheriff who points to the oddity of having two female suspects, and you write, quote, abductions are rare in themselves, especially adult abductions. On top of this being two women is even more unique, so there remains a number of concerns that we have. Based on your reporting, do you get the sense that investigators are questioning Papini's version of the accounts or skeptical?
Well, I think that they're keeping their options open. I talked to Sheriff Pelisek yesterday, and he had said that Sherry Papini is not a suspect. I do think that, you know, he's very surprised because of the fact that it's a two women abducting. I mean, abductions are rare, as he said. So the fact that there was two women, and also, too, the description of the women is kind of, you know, there's not a good description. There's, you know, one woman is older with bushy eyebrows. The other one was younger with thinner eyebrows. You know, Sherry had something over her head the entire time. So there's not a lot that they could go on. And I'm sure that they're, you know, looking at everything.
Are they still actively searching for those two women, though?
Well, they are. I asked him. I actually talked to Pelisek yesterday, and he said that they are doing it. And, you know, the investigation changed. I mean, obviously, at first it was a missing person. So now they've completely had to change their strategy and try to find out. So I'm hoping that Sherry gave the detectives a lot more information than what the police have put out there, because, you know, right now, I mean, they have absolutely nothing to go on. So hopefully Sherry actually told them more information so then they could help, you know, they could possibly try to find out who did it, because as it stands now, I can't imagine how they're going to ever be able to find who did this.
Christine, stand by for me just for a moment here. I want to bring in Allison Sutton. Allison Sutton is the passerby who spotted Sherry Papini on the side of that road near Sacramento. Again, this is 150 miles from her Redding, California home. It was Sherry who called 911 to alert authorities. Sherry, thank you for your time this morning. You've said that you were driving along the highway there, I-5, at more than 70 miles an hour, but you managed to catch a glimpse of something on Thanksgiving morning. What exactly did you see?
I saw a blonde woman standing in like that V-shaped area that gets created between the right shoulder and the left side of an off-ramp. But I wasn't quite sure where I was when I saw her. I just caught a glimpse of her. The area where she was is not well lit, so I didn't actually see her until I was right up on her, which really startled me. And it kind of took me a few minutes to figure out what I'd seen, and I went a couple miles up the road to figure out until I saw road signs, so I knew where I was, and then I pulled off onto the shoulder and I called 911.
Allison, did you see the bruises? Did you see the restraints? Did you see the branding that we've heard about? Did you see any of those things?
I saw her very, very quickly. Her face looked, I thought her face was dirty, but based on what I know now, I'm guessing that what I thought was dirt on her face was the bruises. But it was very, very dark. I did not notice restraints. It was so dark. I barely saw her. And like I said, it was a flash because that area is so dark, and it was 4:30 in the morning.
Right. You called 911. You didn't go back after that.
I did not. No, I had my 14-year-old daughter in the car with me, and we talked about going back, but the 911 operator had me feeling confident that law enforcement would take care of the person that I saw, and so we chose to get back on the road and keep going.
Christine, let me bring you back in here for a second, because there's also this story out there now about Sherry Papini's high school best friend. Tara Smith was her name. She went missing under strikingly similar circumstances nearly 20 years ago, out for a jog. She never returned. People reporting that Papini's husband, Keith, reached out to Smith's dad after Sherry's disappearance looking for advice. What can you tell us about that strange connection?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because Sherry and Tara went to the same high school. And Tara was a homecoming queen, and then she disappeared without a trace, like about 2 miles away from where Sherry disappeared. And they've never found Tara. And the police are still, it's an open investigation. They have a suspect. They think that Tara's boyfriend is a person of interest, but, you know, he never spoke to the police at the time. And so he's been some guy for the last, 17 or 18 years that they're sort of focused in on. And I asked Sheriff Bosenko whether there was any links between the cases, and he said none that they were aware of.
Allison, have you been able to talk directly to either Sherry Papini or her husband since that night that you found her along the side of the road?
No, I haven't.
I would imagine that by now you are aware of, I guess it would be safe to characterize it as skepticism that a lot of folks have about some of the details of the story. What do you make of that skepticism?
I think it's unfounded. I did catch a glimpse of her face as I drove past her, and she looked frantic and terrified when I saw her. I do not believe that there's any reason to be skeptical of her story. She was out in very cold weather in not warm enough clothes, and I just cannot imagine someone going to those kind of extreme lengths for a hoax.
Christine, really quickly here, why then are authorities still apparently somewhat skeptical?
I think that they have to look at that. I mean, with the description, the 2 Hispanic women, I mean, number one, it's a very rare thing. She comes back on Thanksgiving Day. I mean, I think that they have to rule out a lot of that, because as you know, at first, her husband, when she disappeared, her husband was the prime suspect. And so they have to look at people who are close. I mean, they looked at all the family members, they looked at her past, they looked at her ex-boyfriends, and they really tried to do a timeline on Keith as well. I mean, they went to his Best Buy store to find out where he was. They searched the internet, just to see if there was any kind of communications beforehand, like, so they're doing their due diligence, because it is a very unusual case. I mean, not often do you have 2 women abducting a woman by gunpoint and then turning around 22 days later and letting her go. I mean, it never happens. It's very strange.
Christine,
it's a strange case.
Thank you. Allison, thanks to you as well.
Thank you.
And we will be right back.
It's a beautiful movie about